It's 29th of January 2023, and we don't have to wait any longer, any living second longer, before Ero Season 9 on PC F1 starts all over again. Tony Richer won the championship in Season 8 with an enormous lead of around 110 points to Cameron Dowds, who finished on the second place. But now, both of these drivers will be racing from the start of the season, and also include likes of Ryan Gropp, Tim Bayer, Diogo Moraes, who is unfortunately missing this one, but he will probably race in the next events. However, we've got Drake, we've got Ryan Gropp, we've got Miltos Karafolidis currently as a reserve though, same as Maciej Lutniński. We've got also both Mercedes drivers of Jack Harrington and Julio Figueira, and plenty more interesting and exciting names on the grid. This is Season 9 of European Racing Organization, which will start within seconds. Last drivers are just joining the session. Well, there was a couple of technical issues on their side, but thankfully everything should be fixed for all of them, and we should be starting within seconds. There is only 2 more drivers that require joining the session, and we'll all be in and going with Ero Pc F1 this season. Well, this is where we all start. This is going to be very exciting, so just make sure that you have clicked that like button and subscribe to the channel before all of this goes. And, well, have fun during Ero Season 9. My name is Wojciech Śmigowski. I am the owner of entire European Organization and the PCF1 commentator and coordinator as well. And I welcome you to this exciting part that this season is definitely going to be. We're just awaiting Marvin Moore to join the session.
Mateusz Dorocki, PL,
Well,
said
well, as you can see, some of the drivers are definitely using text to speech messages as. Yep, this is how it all goes. If anyone can tell me how to turn off the text-to-speech messages, I would be very pleased with that. But yeah, you could see Mateusz Dorocki asks for a start of the race, and the race is actually starting. Hugo Caballero just needs to pick the Alpha Tauri, and we will be all going.
Mateusz Dorocki,
Well, as you can see, I'd rather definitely turn off the Discord or actually change the role settings, because this is actually very interesting. Very interesting start to the season, where drivers have discovered the new feature of text-to-speech messages. I don't bother listening to every single one of them though. Where's the text? Okay. It should be all sent now, as, yeah. We've been having some little issues around here. This is very interesting start to the season. I already love this one, even though I had to give like 4 bans yesterday. There was a couple of rage quits. But yeah. As after this little bit of wait, we will be joining the first session of the season. As you can see, well, everything's not working again, but, well. Yeah, this is where the Ero Season 9 starts. We will quickly go through the entire grid of today's race. as there's plenty of interesting names to be told about. For example, we'll start probably with the Constructors Champions of Red Bull, who have changed their lineup a little bit comparing to Season 8, as we had Tony Yucha and Ryan Grob to the end of the Season 8. Now we've got completely different one with Hugo Nilsson, the debut driver, and Luke Mills, promoted from AlphaTauri, joining the Constructors Champions of last season. Then we are having the AlphaTauris, the Academy Red Bull team, with Tony Riche and Hugo Caballero involved. We all know Tony Riche, who's been a Season 8 champion, and Hugo Caballero is a debut driver. Tony Riche just goes out of the pit line. Next up, we've got the Ferraris, who did not change their lineup as probably the only team on the grid. Arjan Bulbas and Jonathan Foss will race for Ferrari again this season. And then we're having Mercedes drivers of Julio Figueira and Jack Hamilton. And the McLarens, we've got the two drivers from Team Shadow, of course, also very nice pit exit from Team Bayer. But Team Bayer, as a debut driver, got a 5th place in the preseason. He was leading until the second last lap due to the late safety car. But that has been overtaken by 3 people in one go, apparently, or even 4 people. We've seen this 4 white moment going on the track as Hugo Nilsson's the first one to spin, and I don't know if he's unable to get out on track, but this is a very... Yeah, he's stuck! We've got the first driver today who's already stuck on the grid. Who's already stuck on the gravel, sorry. Hugo Nilsson, very interesting start to your season, I must say, as he will be starting last into this Bahrain Grand Prix, unable to get out of the gravel. Very nice interruption though, as we'll be heading to, after the McLaren's Ryan Grob, who's been here in Season 8, sorry, and Team Bayer debut driver, Hugo Caballero has allegedly done the same thing. Drivers tend to get stuck right now. As in the Alpines, I've said Kacper Niemczuk, who's been racing here in Seasons 6 and 7. However, he keeps the record of like 10 to 15 DNFs in a row. I would need to verify that personally, but 9 races in Season 7 and all were DNFs, so definitely he hopes for a better record in this one. Then we've got Aston Martin, who both have just finished their laps. Karol Więch, a debut driver, 28.2. Miltos Karafolidis, 28.0. Cameron Dowds on the professional pole with 27.4. However, both the Aston Martins are debut drivers. Proved their pace on the trials. And for Miltos, that was the preseason race. It's very interesting thing from you happened, Karol, but this qualifying session is definitely fantastic already. Karol goes straight into the wall. I believe that is the wheel issue because we couldn't see him like fully accelerating. I don't know what happened there. But that is definitely something to be considered asking about. Continuing though, we've also got Williams of Quill Pavlakovic, who stayed in the Williams team compared to Season 8, and he's got a new teammate of Diogo Moraes for the Season 9. However, Diogo is not racing today. Lutiński Maciej, who also raced in Williams in Season 8, but in PS F1, where he got a guaranteed spot. He was about to race in a Ferrari, but actually swapped the platforms recently and will be racing in the team of reserve, actually. Here, Maciej Lutiński will start as a reserve in PC F1. The Alfa Romeos have Ferry Wagner moved from Aston Martin and Drake Dempsey, who's the Alfa Romeo Esports development driver, and there is also Haas with Cameron Dowds, who's got 2nd place last season in PC F1, and Marvin Moore, who was racing in Alpine last season. Was close to top 10, by the way. Also, I forgot about one more driver in the Alpine, that is Mateusz Dorocki, who was fighting for the 3rd place in PCF2, however, not everything did go his way. Especially considering like Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. He's now reversing, so definitely trying to find a way to go back to the pits after spinning, probably. First half of the season, first half of this qualifying session in the season 9 is definitely one of the most interesting. Already, we've seen already 2 drivers be disqualified. 1 driver crashing into the wall for some reason. And a couple of very decent times, a driver on the tires. This time though, Pawlakovic will start his second qualifying lap, as I can already confirm that Karol Więch's retirement that we could see on this particular corner was due to the wheel issues that have happened quite suddenly, and it wasn't himself doing it on purpose. As you can see, Phil Pawlakovic going very smoothly through the corners, but I believe he's using no ERS on purpose though. Willing to actually set the delta first. So we'll probably move to one of the other drivers. I believe Cameron Dowds is on the outlap, but who else is hot lapping? That will be Julio Figueira starting his lap now. Although it didn't say outlap before he crossed the line. It's probably one of the Codemaster's newest features. As you can see, Cameron Dowds is in Sector 3 and there is already no outlap for him. As he'll be following the Mercedes driver. Who's got already 28.4. We'll see what will be the lap after Sector 1. That will be a 10 faster comparing to his previous lap time. Most of the drivers here are no assists, and Julio is one of them as well. There's only a couple of drivers using line. Apparently 3 of the 4 Polish drivers, every single Polish driver apart from Lutiński, that will be. As far as I'm aware, that will also apply to both Ferraris, Ferry Wagner and Hugo Caballero. Rest, as far as I'm aware, is racing with completely no assist. Line is the only assist allowed in this tier. Actually, same thing since Season 7. It is. Julio goes 4 tenths up on his lap time, so I believe he might be going for like 4th place already in this qualifying session, at least provisionally, because remember, every single other driver will have to do laps anyway. Jack Harrington is right behind Julio. He's about to cross the line with 27.7. That is a very decent lap time. Less than a tenth behind Drake Dempsey. Places him on the 4th place. So that is definitely something worth noting. Now it's Jack Harrington's turn in Mercedes to make a lap. Probably he will have some slipstream, a little bit of slipstream from Julio. So definitely this might help get a couple of thousandths of a second. However, we'll follow Cameron Dowds going for a 27.2. Next up to cross the line is one of the Red Bulls, but we'll focus on the Drake Dempsey. These 2 drivers, Cameron and Drake, have already been spotted on the practice session before the race. Well, actually, it won't be an exaggeration when I say sweating this track. As Drake Dempsey is about to cross the line, he's on the 5th gear. Will turn on DRS, and can he beat Cameron Dowds? No, it will be 27.5, placing him on the 2nd. Drake Dempsey himself, by the way, right after the grid reveal for PC F1, has predicted that Cameron Dowds will be on pole for the first race. And this isn't far from truth, as Cameron is 3 tenths up on these 2 drivers. This is actually amazing pace from the Haas. As Team Bayer is having no ERS. I wonder how is he going to improve his lap. Yeah, he's actually a 2nd down on his lap time, so I believe this is not the one that we will watch. Niemczyk goes 7th. In the meantime, Marvin Moore outscores him, goes 6th, 27.9. There's only 27s going on. Will we see a 26 point something in this race? Probably 26.9 in this qualifying session is possible in my personal opinion. As Cameron Dowd goes to the pit lane. Also, I love these kinds of glitches on the custom sponsor banners. But this is something we have to live with. I'll actually try to fix. As Kacper Niemczyk goes for an in-lap, watching Luke Mills go to the pit lane. This is probably the end of this second qualifying run in Q1. The only one not to make a lap time is Dorocki, who's having a Haas ahead of Marvin Muir. I believe. He's getting some slipstream from the Haas driver, but the Haas driver thinks not to let past Dorocki. And is Dorocki actually giving up on this lap? I don't know. But he's going side by side with Marvin, who's now going down the inside of Mateusz. So this is a bit of racing during qualifying. Mateusz Dorocki moving about a bit. Actually, not a bit. It's like a quite a big bit. They both will probably go to the pit lane. Mateusz Dorocki indeed goes to the pit lane. How about Marvin Muir? He's going to the pits as well. There's also a Williams who's going to the pit lane. The same applies for Tony Ritchie. The other Williams of Kul Pawlakovic is going 9/10 up on his no ERS lap time. Ryan Grob starts his lap now. The only driver to make a proper hot lap as of now. I believe there's also Arjan Bilbas and Jonathan Voss, who will be starting soon. Arjan Bilbas will start his lap right now, so we'll follow Ryan on this particular occasion. Ryan Grob through the sector 2 now, being led past by Quill. That was a very late braking for 10-10, but he made it work somehow. As he's pushing through the third ERS straight. We'll see what will be the interval lap time for sector 3. He's 10th up, so you can see how close these gaps are between the McLaren drivers, and there's also Niemczyk in between them. So if Ryan Grob goes up by a 10th of a second, he might even land on the 6th place, and a difference between 9th and 6th is kinda big. Ryan Grob, meanwhile, will go to the pit line, pick up a new set of softs, and then he will try to make a new lap and the last round of this qualifying session. So that is a very interesting tactics from the McLaren driver. How about both Ferraris? As Arjan Bilbas is about to cross the line, and he is going to probably place a 27 something. Yeah, it is 27.7, and puts him on 5th place from 14th. So that's the great result for the Ferrari driver. How about Jonathan Voss? Because he's also on the last corner. And there's also a Red Bull of Luke Mills on the outlap behind him. Both Mercedes drivers, Jonathan Voss invalidates on the final corner, so he will not improve his lap. I believe there could have been some sort of an improvement, but it did not happen. As Julio Figueira is on the lap, at least that's what the game says. 27.7 already, now he's a 10th up, so this time he outscores Arjan. As he's on the final corner now, he abuses this curb so badly, yet he makes it work and goes 5th fastest, 27.6, 41 milliseconds behind Tony Ritchie. As there's more and more drivers on the outlaps. One of them is Cameron Doubts, who Krabikowski can fight for the championship this season with 27.2 on the board. Harrington, though, is having very slow lap time of 34.5, and he will not improve it. So that is more trouble for the Mercedes, as he's still on the 17th. I mean, starting from the last places might be decent for him. As, yeah, he's crashed out also on the exit of turn 9, that is. Oh, very interesting, but this is the end of the qualifying for Jack Harrington. Mateusz Dorowski just needs to set a decent lap time in order to jump him. Same applies for both Williams drivers. Actually, they both jumped Jack Harrington. I know, I'm aware of that. However, they still have to regain a lot on the rest of the drivers. Dorowski goes on the curb, and that is the end of the qualifying for the Alpine drivers. So no more chance for the man to get the proper lap time sorted. These are the last seconds of this qualifying, as Team Bayer is about to cross the line. Oh, it's the first one on the final qualifying lap. He's putting himself not a single bit of an improvement. 28.0, he will start 9th at best. Kupowakovic, I believe, has already finished his lap. How about Kacper Niemczyk, who's approaching the last corner? Drake Dempsey is out of the qualifying as well, so he will not start higher than 3rd. How about Niemczyk? He's about to cross the line. He's on the main DRS straight, and can he jump Team Bayer? Of course he can with this lap. 27.8. 2/10 ahead of him. Cameron Doubts improves himself by around 50 milliseconds, securing his pole position. So that is great news for the Haas. Can Milton Scarpoli get closer to that? As he nearly went off track on the exit curb. He also nearly went off on the exit of the corner. Both on the entry, on the exit. He does not improve though. Probably lost a little bit of time there. Ryan Group goes 4th, so that's very good for him. How about Tony Ricci? He's about to cross the line. And we'll see if doing a 26 is possible. Not from Tony, who put 27.2 in the practice session. Now he goes 3rd with 27.5, but this qualifying session was very, very close. From from Miltos ones, as you can see, Miltos will start on the front row behind Cameron Doubts with a 3/10 of a gap. That is actually amazing pace from the Scottish. Then we've got the second row, Drake Dempsey and Tony Ricci, of course, in the reverse order. Ryan Grove and Julio Figueira in the 3rd. Then the top 10 is rounded by Arian Bilbas, Kacper Niemczyk, Marvin and Luke Mills. The last 10 are Wagener, Bayer, Foss, Więch, Lutyński, Pawlakowicz, Dorowski, Harrington, Nilsson, and Caballero. Nilsson and Caballero both disqualified due to unfortunate circumstances of being stuck. That's it for the first part of this weekend. Just a reminder to hit that like button. We'll see if there is a formation lap, but I do not predict any due to so many issues it had. We'll also try inviting Karl Viench if I ever find him, as there is less than 30 seconds to go. There you go. Well, the only one to... Who is this Fabian? I mean, this is very interesting to see that some of the random drivers, some of the random people are actually joining the session. But we don't care now, as the race is already starting. 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights ahead of us. And for the first time in Season 9, It's lights out. And away we go. Cameron Downs gets a decent start, decent jump on Miltos Carafolidis. Multiple drivers are trying to warm up their tires somehow. However, Cameron Downs on the lead of the Grand Prix. There is a McLaren of Team Bayer trying to make a move on Figueira. However, this start looks way cleaner definitely than the one that we've seen in the pre-season. No yellow flags are appearing, despite there is a spin already of Niemczyk and Bayer, so these two will have to make a recovery drive. Well, Kasper Niemczyk doesn't help himself considering 9 DNFs in 9 previous performances in Season 7. That was a long time ago though, as Cameron Downs leads the way ahead of Miltos. Then we've got Tony Ritchie and Drake Dempsey. The group of 6 drivers is involved, I believe. There is also Marvin Moore closing down on the top 5. There's one colorful snake, so you can see how close this grid is. Maciej Lutiński makes a move on Jonathan Foss though for position number 13. However, he goes wide in turn 10, so this is one of the most cursed corners on the entire Formula 1 calendar. He now has to give the place back to Jonathan, and so it happens. However, this race has started only with one incident, so got pretty decently as Tony Ritchie, 3rd place at the moment for the championship winner from Season 8, looking to defend his title, so that definitely will help him with getting a good start with 15 points. However, as far as I'm aware, once Cameron and Tony both raced in the same session, I believe Cameron might have got slightly higher average amount of points per race in Season 8. But you will have to check, to fact check that, because I'm not entirely sure. I just have this feeling with Cameron's great streak of podium points finishes last season. Well, we'll see about that as Tony Ritchie goes nearly out of the track in the exit of turn 2 and at the entry of turn 3. Wiech fights Wagner, but I believe this... Oh, Wiech is back in the session, so here it's racing now Caballero and Ferry into turn 4, and it's a free wide. I don't think it's going to end well. Well, there's only a little bit of contact for Hugo Caballero as everyone survives it. Even though going free wide in any corner, well, it's challenging to say the least. Team Bayer has to go to the pit lane. We'll start from P20. We've seen him doing great drives, like the start of the Portuguese Grand Prix, where he's gone for like 4th to 1st and then led for 10 laps for Drake Dempsey before the pit will stop. Now we'll be focusing on the fight between Nelson and Figueira. These two drivers very close to each other, and Figueira is nearly out of the DRS. I wonder how Kul Pawlakowicz has gone 8th already, so we'll see about the position changes. Yeah, that is true. Kul Pawlakowicz has gone 8 positions up on the race start, and Nilsson has gone 9 positions on the race start, so that is amazing actually for him. Niemczyk spins round on the sector 2, turn 11 and turn 12. Recovers though, so both of the drivers who we've seen spinning in lap 1 are now on the 2 last places, definitely. Cameron Downs leads the way just about out of the DRS from Miltos Carafolidis. As Cameron seems like he's burned out all of the ERS possible. Same applies for the rest of the top drivers. The most they have is 40%. Julio Figueroa somewhere spinning round again. So not the best situation for the Mercedes. Both Mercedes drivers are struggling today. Jack Harrington struggled to qualifying. We've seen him crashing out on the in-lap, and he said in the chat himself he cannot even do the in-lap. And the qualifying, but I believe in him apparently. Carl Williams spins round now. So there will be a couple of spins at the background. A couple of drivers have already complained a couple of corners on the SAC here international circuit. This is an open and definitely brings us entertainment. Cameron Downs somehow goes another 3 cents up on Carafolidis. As Drake Dempsey is going very close to Tony Ritchie, so we might see a little bit of a fight between these two. However, Cameron Downs clearly ahead of the rest of the group. Miltos Carafolidis cannot catch up. He's got the best more of ERS though, so he might use it on the main straight. But Cameron going on his own pretty much. As Tony Ritchie has the RS on Miltos, he can use that to overtake the Aston Martin driver, who is a reserve for today's race. Got the DRS power, but he is going to back out from the move. As you can see, he prefers to stay within the DRS of Miltos, rather than making any moves in turn 1, even though we would love to see them happening. And interesting situation as there is BMW and Figueira fighting for position number 17, and this is where there is actual racing, no mind games with the DRS being played. Pure race. We'll see if Julio Figueira actually makes a move on Carol. Well, he's got no ERS, so that will not happen as of now. As Drake Dempsey close to making a move on Tony, you can see he's nearly side by side with the AlphaTauri driver. That will mean he's looking for one. If Tony doesn't make a move on Miltos, I will do it myself, but I have to pass Tony first. I will do that as well. As you can see, Tony is using this esports line in turn 10. I don't know if he's losing or gaining on this one. I've never gone for that personally when I was still racing, so well, this is up to you on the chat. This is actually OP. As Tony goes out of the track, I believe, for this little bit of a moment. We'll see if this will be used by Drake Dempsey, because there was not a big of a loss in this one. 30% of ERS used by Drake, still to use by Drake Dempsey. We're approaching the main straight for lap 5 of today's Grand Prix. Cameron Dawes leads by 2.4 seconds already, as these drivers are busy playing mind games. As Tony Ritchie, well, will he make a move right now? We can see he's approaching Miltos Karfolidis. He's side by side. He makes it. He's going second. He believes he will be the one who's going to have better pace overall. But he goes wide into turn 1. He goes wide on the turn 1 and has to correct the line a little bit. However, he's got clear enough in order not to make any move, not to let Miltos make any move on him. He goes wide again though, so this might be interesting. Yellow flags behind us. That is Dorocki spinning round. I've seen him personally spinning a lot of times in the exit of turn 3. How about Drake? Will he make a move? Ryan Gropp and Iron Bull Basel following this battle closely from the behind. So they're just waiting for something to happen, I believe. Marvin Moore is on the border of having DRS or not. As Miltos gets a pure exit out of turn 10. Is Drake Dempsey using that to get ahead of the Aston Martin? He will not. He's not using any ERS, so he's probably waiting for a better opportunity. As Miltos, I believe, was using... He's got DRS, but he was using ERS as well. He goes wide, Miltos. Drake Dempsey is very, very close to the Greek driver. They are now side by side. Drake Dempsey goes for a move into turn 13 and makes it stick. That was fantastic from the Alfa Romeo driver. They're now side by side into the final corner. There is no place left for them, as Drake Dempsey has the inside line. I believe this will be the better one. He forces Miltos a little bit off track, and now he's going to be ahead of the Aston Martin driver. But this is not over yet. No, Miltos has the RS advantage. He's got the slipstream from Drake Dempsey. They're now side by side, very close to the wall. Miltos gets ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Now Alfa Romeo has the inside. Does it mean a move? Bringing back Drake onto the second place, very close from the contact. Dorocki ties for the session in the pit lane. Now Drake Dempsey has to watch out for Ryan Gropp, who goes for a move. Carol Vieck is out of the session as well, so I believe the wheel issues have stricken again. There's a full safety car being deployed for that one. Tony Ritchie on the second place, ahead of Miltos Karfolidis, then Drake, then Ryan, then Arjan Bilbas. This is how it is in terms of the standings of the race. For the position 2nd to 6th. I believe I wonder what the drivers will do for now, as most of the top guys are on the hard tires. I just need to confirm that yes, it is true. Will Pavlakovic... Jack, just don't alt tab anymore and this will not be an issue again. However, Jack, looking at the strategies, Quill and Hugo Nilsson, the ones who started on soft, Carl Vian has got the issues with the wheel, so I believe this has confirmed itself. We've spoken about that in qualifying already. I wonder what about the strategies. Is Cameron Downs going to the pit lane? Tony Ritchie might be. He's faking it. Drake Dempsey fakes it too. So the only drivers I believe must pit are Hugo and Quill. And Quill and Hugo both indeed go to the pit lane. So change the hard tires and go on them until the end of the Grand Prix. We've seen this with Pavel Dudek and BC3. Miltos with an error. Going wide. Now he gets his position back. If there's any 5-second time penalty, he will have to serve it into the pits though. The only way to let all the driver past without getting a risk of game making an intervention saying, well, you overtook someone, you cannot do that, is to go out of the track by yourself. Well, it's very hard on tracks like Monaco. Looking at the standings of the race, well, did Quill and Hugo go now? Quill is 13th, ahead of Hugo Nilsson, so it stayed like so. 13th, 14th. As Miltos tries to go on the neutral gear. Interesting tactics. As most of the queue has already joined the safety car. Twin Bayer, I believe, is saved due to Dorotsky going to the pit lane and Carol's wheel issues. This is how just the game displays. Will not make any red flags as of now. As I'm responding to Jack Harrington. Who was on the chat asking for a restart of the session, but it's not happening just now. We'll see about that in 2 laps. If this happens, we're doing a 25% race. Or we can still do the sprint points, you know. Yeah, we can already do the sprint points. As Drake Dempsey appears to get closer and closer to Miltos Karfolidis. But these are the safety car conditions, so he cannot make a move. Cameron Dowd's also trying to speed up the safety car a little bit. As Bert Mailander is going rather slowly with the colonist. As the pole sitter of today's race, the runner-up of season 8 of Ero Pc F1, now in the Haas, leading the Grand Prix. Well, that is very interesting insight. He's been building his gap. As Tim Bayer, as soon as he rejoins the grid, as he rejoins the pack, will probably go again in the Bahrain Grand Prix. As, yep, Tim is back in the pack. Everyone is on the hard tires now, apart from Kacper Niemczyk, who's gone for a pretty bold strategy of going into the mediums, hoping they will survive until the end of the Grand Prix. As Cameron tries to be side by side with the safety car, there's a Mercedes of Harrington creating a bit of a gap. Now, they all rejoined the pack. There's a bit of a mess going at the back of the grid. I believe this is the time we're going in. No, we're not apparently. Now we're going. We're going in, actually. Cameron Dowd's leading the Bahrain Grand Prix, but this is not the end of the action. Look, Mill spins around under the restart. So that is very interesting, but you can see all of the rest of 17 drivers on the same straight, warming up their tires, getting closer and closer to each other. Richie on the second, Karfolidis on the third, Drake Dempsey on the fourth, all with one objective, to get the first place that Cameron Dowds has. We're about to go racing again, as Bermerander has just jumped into the pit lane. This is the time for Cameron Dowds. He can start the Grand Prix. He's going already. And this is Ero Pc F1 Bahrain Grand Prix going all over again. Cameron Dowds nearly spins round, whiffs about a bit, because he knows Tony Ritchie is going to use all of his ER as possible. Tony Ritchie has got the better restart of this Grand Prix and will go for the lead of the Grand Prix. As he's on the outside into turn 1, Cameron Dowds will have to defend the inside. However, Tony does not give this one up. The two probably future championship contenders are side by side, and this time the Alpha Tauri is in front of Tony Ritchie, and he's clearly on the lead of the Grand Prix. Everyone goes clean as I see. Cameron Dowds looks for a move on the inside of turn 4. No, actually not. He's going to back out of it. However, he's going to use every single opportunity to get ahead of the Alpha Tauri. As at the back of the grid, Kacper Niemczyk spins round yet again, but the rest of the 17 drivers are going well easily. Drake Dempsey made a move on Miltos Karfolidis again side by side, as Drake is actually on the podium places as of now. Ryan Gropp also looking for a chance to make a move. Tony Ritchie using his esports line, abusing the turn curve as much as possible. However, I believe Cameron Dowles will try to find a place to overtake him as soon as possible. Both of these drivers had very great qualifying, practice sessions. Cameron Dowles proved it with the lap time of 27.1. Tony Ritchie well got up 27.2. We've seen his hot lap being recorded for the YouTube channel on Thursday, and it placed him on 27.6. That would be like 4th or 5th, so that's still pretty decent. Because especially considering that was the session lap, not the time trial. As Cameron Dowles is now using a bit of DRS. Now he's having that slipstream from Tony Ritchie. But I believe with no DRS, he's going to look for nothing. As he's going for a move down the inside into turn 1, he goes for a big dive. The Haas driver, and now he's ahead of Tony Ritchie. They are now again side by side. We've seen this a lot before. Cameron Dowles and Tony Ritchie again will to win into turn 4. This time nobody gives it up. Nobody backs out of it. Cameron Dowles on the inside line. However, Tony may go for the outside space like Max Verstappen in 2021. No, he does not. He prefers to abuse the curb, just like into turn 10. And Cameron Dowles again on the lead of the Grand Prix. Now these two are getting... Well, Drake Dempsey is getting closer and closer to them. But this is incredible action on the first 10 laps of the Bahrain Grand Prix. These drivers have decided, you know what, we'll not play any mind games like in the esports. We'll actually go for it and try to make the moves as soon as possible. The two drivers who were top 2 in the championship last season, well, they have to watch out because Drake, Miltos and Ryan, and Aaron Bilbas is actually very close to Giant, are waiting for anything to happen. We'll have DRS on this lap, not on the main straight though. We'll have it on the straight into turn 4 as Kasper Niemczyk spins round again. Cameron having a bit of ERS to play with, but Tony Ritchie has a bit more, he's got 40%. But now he knows that DRS enabled this lap, so he can get closer in turn 4, and we'll see into turn 1. We'll see if he'll get close enough to make a move into turn 4. As he's having a gap of 4 tenths. Is it enough to get close enough to make a move? It will be 3 tenths, it will be 3.5 tenths, it will be down 3 tenths. Not enough to make any move. As Kasper Niemczyk improves his record of DNFs in a row and he retires the pit lane. Actually, out of the 4 Polish drivers that started today, already 3 have DNF'd, so that is not the best way to start the season. Jonathan Foss with DRS on Marvin Murray, who are checking on the midfield. I don't believe with the 6 tenths of a gap the move will happen into turn 11. Actually, I don't believe there will be any move into turn 11, apart from Luke Mills, who's close to Lutinsky. Lutinsky tried to let him pass. Lutinsky has got no ERS though, as you can see. Luke Mills nearly has it all. So I believe he might be going for a move anytime soon, in order to catch up to the rest of the grid. Nelson slowed down a little bit. Both Kuga and team. That time McLaren driver very close to Kuga, but Kuga is on the border of DRS on the main straight. But let's go back to the lead of this Grand Prix. Cameron Dowles uses no ERS. He knows that Tony has DRS, but Tony, even though he was looking for a move into turn 1, has decided not to make one. But into turn 4, anything is possible. Well, the gap is 4 tenths. We could see a fight between Nilsson, Bayer and Caballero in the background, and Team Bayer goes as a victor of it. Cameron Dowles still in the lead of the Grand Prix. 3 of the drivers have already gone away by a second from Miltos Carfolidis, for whom the DRS assistance is like a life support if he wants to fight for the podium paying positions. He was 4th on the preseason, even though he finished 3rd on track due to a 3-second time penalty he's got. And for that, Luke Mills was on the podium instead of the Greek driver. Is there any fighting going on in the back of the field? We can see Hugo Caballero going for a move on the senior Red Bull team. As these drivers are side by side into turns 11 and 12, we'll watch for that for a bit before anything else happens. The front, Hugo Nilsson still side by side. This time Hugo goes for a move down on the inside, and he's done so into the 14th place of the Grand Prix. So that is a decent one for the AlphaTauri, but he lets him pass. He wants to have CDRS. So we'll go back to the front of the grid at this point. Tony Richer still with no chance of making a move on Cameron, even though he was looking for so. We can actually come back to position number 15, watch it from Luke Mills' point of view. Luke Mills goes for a double move on both Caballero and Nilsson. Even though it's still for the position number 14, it's still great to watch. Luke Mills ahead of his teammate and the AlphaTauri driver, who are still side by side into turn 4. Caballero tries to squeeze Hugo a little bit, but Hugo will not let this one give this one up. And both Red Bull drivers are now ahead of the AlphaTauri. Still a great fight. Cameron Dowds ahead of Tony Richer and Drake Dempsey, still on the lap 13 of this Grand Prix. I wonder when all of these drivers will go to the pit line, as Team Bayer, we can see, has already joined the main group of 13 drivers fighting for actually the win of the race, as this is very close. Hugo Caballero spins round on the exit of turn 10. What have you done, Hugo? I'm wondering. As Team Bayer, as we can see, he will also be ahead of Jack Harrington as of now, due to Jack Harrington's 3 seconds in-game time penalty. However, we'll go back to the fight for the third place. We'll see if Drake is getting any closer to Tony Richer. I don't think so. So these drivers are happy to stay on the first 3 places, even though Drake breaks very, very late into turn 1. However, if we are going to see a move, it's going to be into turn 4, as Miltos has no DRS, so Ryan Grubb can use that in order to move up to the 4th place. He's side by side and he's ahead of Miltos Karafolidis and into 4th place. But Karafolidis tries to go for a switchback. Unfortunately, this little bit of a moment does not allow him to make one. And now he's under pressure from Arjan Bilbas, so that will be still another driver who he has to watch out for. And that does not make any situation any better for the Aston Martin reserve driver, who's replacing Fraser Robertson today. And they're actually going for the best result of the Aston Martin since, well, not season 8. But Bianc going for the 19th, so he's already way ahead of him. We also have to add that Bianc has retired from the session already due to wheel issues. But we'll see about that in the future, possibly with the Aston Martin in another races and the next ones. Next week is Japanese Grand Prix, we can say already. Same time, 4 PM UK for PC F1. Then 2 hours later, also 1 hour later from now, PlayStation F1 race. As Iron Bilbas is the first one to go to the pit lane. Alongside him goes Jack Harrington. So they're pulling an undercut. As we could see Drake Dempsey being very close to Tony, who's probably had a little bit of a moment. We wanted to see drivers in the pit lane. But, well, we could go back to the drivers in the pit lane, as you can also see what kind of tires they have put on. They both are on medium compound tire. They will be on the 2 last places. They will have to deal with Hugo Caballero, who's probably going to the end of the Grand Prix. As the other ones gambling on the strategy are Lutinsky, Nilsson, Bayer and Pavlakovic. I believe Pavlakovic may go for actually a decent result around here. As you can see very close to Ferry, who's on the NIF. Well, is there a chance for Quill getting at least a podium today? That makes me wonder, because he was actually having decent performances, especially starting from the back of the grid. For example, here in Bahrain, we can go back to the PCF1 standings of Season 8, because we remember Quill having plenty of performances that were actually against the odds. Starting on the last places, or having a midfield race for the entire way. Then, one lucky situation, one gamble, and he's somehow ahead of everyone. Missed a win by 10th to Evan Curzon in Australia last season, just to mention one. As Tony Ricci is getting close to Cameron Downs. I don't think he's going to make a move just yet because he's half a second behind. But this is definitely worth noting that he's getting closer to Cameron. But this time it's straight closer to Tony than Tony is to Cameron. So is straight going to make a move. Remember him in Season 6 in his debut race with Ero. But he's been going for a move down inside round here. And to turn for own goal on the last lap of the race. That he was very close to Tony Ricci right now. However, both survived. No contact made. Going back to Season 6 where these Red Bulls are, which is turn 4. Both of the drivers actually collided with this desperate move of Drake. Only Drake has spun around. Goyle has won that one. Ahead of Chubiko Chukuma, who made a move on turn 11. That was very bold one. He was about to win the race, I mean, in Season 6 of Ero. PlayStation F1 TF. From Bahrain in Season 8 in this division in PC F1, we can remember Tony Ricci winning, of course. Arjan Bilbas being second and Nervin using reset to track, apparently placing him all the way to 8th. But yeah, Quill started last, I believe, as far as I'm aware, and the Bahrain Grand Prix last season and finished 6th. That's what I wanted to say. Just that. So he might be going for a gamble, even though Wagner is thinking he lost time, as Ryan Grob, Milton Scarfolis are both into the pit line on lap 17. And we'll go with the medium tires until the very end of the Grand Prix, until the checkered flag. This is the only pit stop, unless something happens. Mercer and Nelson are using on the situation, benefiting, as they will go 9th and 10th. I wonder if Lukmus should let Hugo past, as he's having a younger tires by 6 laps. There is a chance that he makes it until the end of the Grand Prix. Zion Bilbas is side by side with Milton Scarfolidis. Into turn 1, he's got the warm tires and he uses this advantage to make a successful undercut on the Aston Martin driver. We'll see how long he stays on the lead, ahead of Miltos, of course, not the lead of the Grand Prix, of course. However, continuing, Team Bias now ahead of Quill Pavlakovic into turn 9. So I believe there was a little bit of an error. Now Team Bayer has DRS on Ferry, and though he's losing over a second. He's been losing over a second to the Alfa Romeo driver. Well, can Ferry do something when it comes to help Drake getting at least the podium paying positions? With blocking Team Bayer a little bit. Maybe he's already made these drivers lose over 3 seconds as Cameron Dowds and Tony Ricci both gone to the pit lane. Same applies for Jonathan Foss. Ferry Wagner stays out. Team Bayer of course will stay out, gambling for these tires to survive until the end of the race. As this is time for Ferry Wagner to do something when it comes to the fight for the victory of today's Grand Prix. Ferry Wagner has started on these hard tires. Now he's under pressure from the team. He's going side by side, he's going down inside of Ferry Wagner. There's a little bit of a contact, I believe. Or very close from contact, to say the least. But Team Bayer has made the move stick into position number 3. Well, Ferry has done what he could. There was a loss of around a second 3 laps ago. Oh no! Ryan Bilbas is unfortunately disconnected from the session, so something might have happened with the technical issues to the Ferrari driver. Ferry Wagner has done what he could. Made Drake safer by around 2 seconds or so. As Team Bayer is losing 3.8 to Marvin Moore, as there's a spin of Julio Figueroa. Unfortunately, he's been having a great race. Until now. Now he's recovering on track. We'll probably go to the pit lane. But we'll see about that. As is Streaker team going, or Marvin, sorry, going to the pit lane? Marvin is. Where's he going to rejoin? Quick calculation means he will be behind, not Miltos, I believe, but definitely behind Ryan Grob. Who we have to watch out for because, well, Tony and Cameron have both gained a lot on Ryan, who's just made past, gone through Hugo Caballero. Marvin rejoins the track on position number 13. He decides not to make a move, but we remember the tensions between him and the Ferrari drivers, especially Arjan Bilbas. But Arjan Bilbas is 3 seconds behind as he rejoined the session. However, Jonathan falls side by side with the Haas driver. We'll see if this move will work for the Ferrari driver around the outside to turn 4. There's a little bit of tire banging. Hugo Caballero spins round ahead of these two. However, Jonathan falls ahead of Marvin, who's got the cold tires, and still has to warm them up. I wonder what will Maciej Lutowski now do, as he's gambling on this tire strategy. However, he's probably not going to fight Cameron Doubts, as he's been overtaken by the Haas driver. Now Tony Ritchie is very, very close to the Williams, the man who's been 8th in the PSF1 Championship last season. I'm still mad that he didn't score at any single podium in this season 8. Because you might have to remember that Maciej Lutowski, was twice in the 4th place in the Italian Grand Prix, season 7 and 8, and also 4th in the Belgian Grand Prix. He was very close to getting podiums, but I'm still mad, especially for the Italian one once. Tony Ritchie goes ahead of Lutowski. And why? Actually, continuing this, well, the last podium for Polish driver in Ero Pc F1 tier happened in season 3. And that was Filip Musiał. This is why, apparently. As Tony Ritchie has made the move successful, he's lost the touch of the RS from Cameron Doubts. As Hugo Nilsson still in the RS of Luke Mills. I wonder what these drivers will do. Is there any favor to Tony Ritchie? Or will finally be let pass by Luke Mills consider the tire switches? The next question is Drake Dempsey going to the pit lane? As I estimate, if Kul Pawlakovic survives on these tires, Team Bayer, one of these two is going to win. Because the gap between these two, let's see, Team Bayer 10 seconds behind Drake Dempsey, that is Cameron Doubts 20 seconds behind Drake Dempsey. That is 10 seconds of a gap as Drake Dempsey goes to the pits. And does it mean he's been going for the soft tires? This is the esports strategy. I wonder. He's definitely going to be overtaken by Team Ferry and Quill. Possibly also Hugo Nilsson and Luke Mills. He's putting on soft tires, so that is a very interesting choice. He's actually going for it, as I thought. He will be behind Hugo, he will be behind Luke, he will be behind Doubts Cameron and Tony Ritchie. And will rejoin on position number 8 or 9, because there is still Lutowski right behind. Well, he'll be on the 8th place, just ahead of Maciej. As there's a fight for position number 5, as Luke Mills does not give this one up. He wants Hugo Nilsson to actually achieve something on his debut race, but he has to give it up. As Cameron Doubts has overtaken Luke Mills, now he has to deal with the other Red Bull of Hugo Nilsson. Will he go down the inside into turn 9? No, Hugo Nilsson closes the door. Both Red Bulls fighting very hard. However, this might not last for long. Hugo Nilsson still side by side with Cameron. Cameron backs out of it, makes a switch back into turn 10. And that was amazing from the Haas driver. However, he's having the RS though, but they are still side by side. He's using a bit of the RS. Now he's ahead of Hugo Nilsson. Luke Mills fight Tony Ritchie, who he replaced. In the Red Bull, Tony Ritchie will make a move down the inside into turn 11. And now he's ahead of one of the Red Bulls. How about the second one? Because Hugo Nilsson is right ahead of him on the bit younger hard tires. Luke Mills wanted to go down the inside of Tony Ritchie, but had to back out of it, otherwise it could have gone badly for both drivers. As Ferry goes to the pit lane, now that is Quill and Team on the first 2 places. I wonder who's going to win this one. Is it going to be Cameron with medium tires, or is it going to be one of the 2 drivers on the top 2? As Tony Ritchie makes a move on Hugo Nilsson, but Luke Mills this time makes a move on Tony Ritchie. This is amazing to watch. There's a little bit of a contact. Drake Dempsey makes a move on Hugo Nilsson. That is not the end of the fight. Both Red Bulls are involved in the fight for the victory of today's Grand Prix. As Drake Dempsey goes for a move down the inside on Luke Mills, and that is completed as the Red Bull driver had to go out of the track and let Hugo Nilsson past. Well, they definitely brought us some entertainment around here, the Red Bull drivers. And they brought Drake Dempsey closer to Tony Ritchie than he was before. Cameron Dutz has already gone out of the DRS, so I'm wondering if Drake Dempsey is going to use the soft tire advantage to make a move on Tony, or will he just go with it until the end of the race? As the gap between Quill and team is 2.1 seconds. The gap between Quill and Cameron is 6.6 seconds. There is 7 laps to go in the Bahrain Grand Prix, so that is not the end of the action. Is this gamble of team and Cameron going to work, as both Mercedes drivers have retired into the pit lane, unfortunately? We hope for all their better performances, starting from Japan. It's going to be a very challenging circuit. We've seen a lot of overtakes around here. I wonder what about the Japanese Grand Prix, as Drake Dempsey makes a move on Tony Ritchie into lap 23. As he tries to... I wonder what that is he's trying to get DRS. He's getting DRS from Tony Ritchie, so that was actually well done for Drake Dempsey. As there's a yellow flag, that is probably the Mercedes retiring, as there is no spins going on the track. I've seen the Arjan Bilbas or Jaton Voss fighting someone. Arjan Bilbas was going by himself, so not sure. However, Cameron Dutz has already regained a second on Quill Pavlakovic. Quill Pavlakovic has lost a half a second on Team Bayer though. So this might not be enough for the race win for Cameron Dutz. Or maybe it will be the case of the last lap. As the history shows that debut drivers actually can win on the pinnacle of the platform racing. As it is the evidence with Season 8 win for Irvin Curtin in British Grand Prix. Well, we can also count Drake Dempsey in Pc F1 in Season 7 because he was moving platforms. How about Season 6? Because I'm wondering who won the first round of that season. That was Ryan Grubb, the debut driver as well. So debut drivers can win races in Ero, as you can see. We can also go back to PlayStation and see Luke Scholtes winning in Season 2 as Marvin Moore makes a move on Maciej Lutiński. Maciej Lutiński probably will not fight this one back. And the Red Bull drivers are involving Ryan Grubb this time into the fight. These two are definitely having a lot of fun and entertainment and bringing us a lot of entertainment around here. As Hugo Nilsson side by side with Ryan Grubb, but Ryan Grubb on these fresh medium tires makes the move. And now the Red Bulls are side by side. However, Luke Mills lets Hugo pass, knowing he's on 24 laps old hard tires. He's the only one yet to make a stop. Now touching Hugo Nilsson, there's a collision between the teammates. So he did not help definitely. Nils Scarfolidis uses that to make a move on both Red Bulls, but this one made by Hugo Nilsson, well, if there is something called Ferrari master plan around the Formula 1 meme community especially, now we're having a Red Bull master plan going on. And that was definitely an example of a master plan, with Luke Mills spinning around his own teammate. Will Jonathan Voss make a move now? That is interesting, as Quill Pavlakovic is already doing 3.5 seconds to Team Bayer, definitely helping the Red McLaren drive a little bit to win his Grand Prix on the debut. Jonathan Voss, very close to Luke Mills. I believe the move will be done sooner or later, even though Luke Mills has DRS, he's got no ERS. Let's see, Jonathan Voss has a little bit to play with. He's going to use it to deploy all the battery possible to overtake Luke into turn 1, and that is made. Is he inside of DRS of Miltos Scarfolidis? That is another question. Well, they are still side by side into turn 2. Now they are side by side into turn 3, as Luke Mills is now behind Jonathan Voss, who's also having DRS. So a move for position number 8 has been completed. Actually, position number 7, considering Miltos' time penalty. I wonder what he did get it for. In the meantime, we've missed... Drake has made a move on Tony Ritchie. We've seen that one. And he's in DRS of Cameron Dowles. So, if there's anyone to win this race, it's either Tim Cameron on Drake. Because Cameron and Drake are still on the fresher tires. Team Bayer, who's been on the two-stop strategy and was spun out in lap 1, is about to at least get a decent result of a podium in this Grand Prix. It's a comfortable gap of nearly 4 seconds over Quil Pavlakovic. And the gap between him and Cameron Dowd is over 5 seconds as of now. There's 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix, 26, 27, 28, 29. So there's a big chance for the McLaren driver to redeem himself from the pre-season when he stayed out on the hard tires during the late safety car and win today in the desert of Bahrain. It all depends if Drake and Cameron will be busy fighting each other or will actually work together to get Quil first. Lutinsky overtaken by Arjen Bilbas. As you could see, there is a little bit of a practice as he was called up last minute for the race as Luke Mills now fights Marvin Moore. Still without a pit stop. I wonder what he's doing. Going for the fastest lap or what? As Marvin Moore goes for a move down the inside. That was a huge lunge for the Haas, pushing Luke Mills a little bit off. But at the end of the day, it has been made. Successfully overtaken. As we can see that Quil Pavlakovic is now having Cameron Dowds and Drake Dempsey right behind him. Very, very close to each other. This time it's proper fight. They cannot waste any more time if they want to win this race. Both Cameron and Drake. They have to make a move on Quil now. As there's the next opportunity is the DRS main straight. And there's 4 seconds to gain. In 3 laps of racing. Cameron Dowds closer and closer to Quil Pavlakovic. Makes him with stick. Will has no DRS. He can play with ERS though. So we'll see if he will fight for the position. As Cameron Dowds has now got a move on Quil. Drake goes down the inside of Quil. As they're now side by side into turn 2. Drake is ahead of Quil Pavlakovic, so that was clear and that was made. 3.6. Now Team Bayer is praying for this gap not to decrease at all. We'll see about this corner. It's around the 10th per corner. So it's possible for Team to win. He's got 3.5 seconds of a gap. That is little, but it might be enough. How much ERS is he having? He's got little to no ERS, so that does not help Team Bayer to win, in order to win this race. Because on the last lap, if they got close by any chance, he would have DRS. Sorry, not the DRS, ERS to play with. He's using it all though. Praying for the race to end as soon as possible. Faster than he can imagine. 2.6 is the gap between Cameron and Tim, so they gained around a second within the sector. As there's a spin of Luke Mills, we'll see if that's him on mid of soft tires, so probably going for the fastest lap of the race. However, we'll go back to the top 3 as Team Bayer now has the chance for the history not to repeat itself. I can already point out that the ERS management is not the best out of all, as he's got no battery with him now. This allows Cameron and Drake, who regained 1.5 seconds through 2 sectors, to maybe even make a move on the last lap. We'll see about it. 1.8, 1.7, this is getting smaller and smaller. What is the tire wear for Team Bayer? Well, we'll not check this one out now. We're unable to. We can only see the tire age. And as you can see, it is 22 laps. In the meantime, what impresses me more is that there's only one driver with an in-game time penalty, and that is Milton Scarfoldi. There's also a penalty for Jack Harrington, but he retired in the pit lane, so it doesn't really count. However, 1 lap and 1.5 sectors. The gap is less than a second. This means Cameron does not have the DRS on this straight because he was over a second behind on the detection point. However, he's now 8 tenths behind Team Bayer. Now Team Bayer, well, he would really hope that this is the last lap of the Grand Prix. However, we have to drive 1 more. And Team Bayer is abusing every single curb. Now he prays for both tires to survive until the end of the race and Cameron not to make a move on him, as both of these drivers have no ERS. None of the drivers have ERS. Only Quil Pavlakovic, who probably thinks there's a chance to make something in this race. Cameron Dowds will be going for a move into turn 1 probably. On Team Bayer, having all of the ERS used into turn 1, but he's not gaining too much on the McLaren driver. Now he's gaining. It's the last lap of the race. He must make a move into turn 1, and he's going for it on the inside and takes the lead of the Grand Prix. However, Team Bayer will fight this one back. This is the final lap of this race, and Team Bayer, well, he's seen his victory go away, apparently. Even though he's got DRS, there's no more chance. Probably. Well, he still will have DRS for one more DRS zone, but I don't think this one will work. There's even Drake Dempsey right behind him on the soft tires. And that, well, that's probably asking for a position to be lost. Drake Dempsey, you could see how close he was to Team Bayer, using a little bit of push to pass, little bit of a contact. Team Bayer might have got a puncture. Or at least he slided badly on the exit of turn 9. This is a mess because he's having issues with the tire. He's got a puncture. He will not win this race. Now it's Quill Pavlakovic trying to make a move on him, as Tony Ritchie uses it all to get ahead of both of these drivers. On the 4th place, that is the action around Bahrain. Team Bayer is spun around. This is the end of his tires. Quill Pavlakovic has seen that and has to survive just one more braking zone behind Tony Ritchie in order to win, to get this 4th place. Very great result for Quill. Unfortunate disaster for Team Bayer, but it is Cameron Dowds who on the last lap of the race has made a move and won the Bahrain Grand Prix in Ero Pc F1 ahead of Drake Dempsey, Tony Ritchie and Quill Pavlakovic. Ryan Gropp will finish this race on the 5th place. We'll see how far Lutas Karfolidis drops, as he's got 5 second time penalty, so he'll be behind Marvin Moore as well. Arjan Bulbas will finish this race on the position number 8 as Ferry Wagener crosses the line on 10th, getting the last points pick position. That was a puncture for Team Bayer. That was very unfortunate. However, great performance. You can still stay on the live stream. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because this was a great season opener. The one we would love to see. Nelson 12, Lutinsky 13, Mills 14, Caballero 15. Disaster for Team Bayer. We said about him having hopes for this race to finish lap before, and it's apparently true. Cameron Dowds ahead of Drake Dempsey and Tony Ritchie. That is the podium. And that was a season opener to remember. Disaster for Team Bayer, unfortunately. However, the race itself was a great piece of entertainment, and we would love to get more of them. Oh my goodness me. Cameron Dowds with a victory of this race. We can finally see the particles, by the way. I turned them on. But yeah, champagne is finally going on. Even though we're on a country that does not really allow alcohol usage, due to the cultural reasons. However, we have that one. Maybe it was no alcohol. I wonder. Anyway, Cameron Dowds wins ahead of Drake Dempsey and Tony Ritchie after a move on last lap on Team Bayer. Drake Dempsey has gone ahead of Team Bayer on the turn 9, and unfortunately he couldn't make a move on Cameron. Then we've got Quill Pavlakovic, who kept his tires alive until the end of the race, and unlike Team. Ryan Gropp, decent 5th. Then we've got Jonathan Foss, Marvin Moore, Arjan Bulbas, Milton Karfolidis, Ferry Wagener, Team Bayer, Hugo Nilsson, Maciej Lutinsky, Luke Mills, Hugo Caballero, who all finished this race. Luke Mills gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Then we've got Julio Figueira, Jack Harrington, Kacper Niemczyk, Karol Wiech, and Mateusz Dorocki, who all did not finish this Grand Prix. Dorocki and Niemczyk, due to, well, retiring the pit lane place for both Mercedes, Karol Wiech, delicious. And this is what cost the only safety car of this Grand Prix. But this race was a season opener worth watching again. I mean, there could be a chance for highlights to be made. If someone wants, there is still enough applicable. It's rose water in Bahrain, not champagne. Yeah, I felt like so there is alcohol. What is the rose water, by the way? What's the difference between it and normal champagne? Anyway, the top 3: Cameron, Drake, Tony, This is the order of today's race, and we'll see them probably in the conference sooner or later. But yeah, I still cannot recap all of this action, as we've got loads of things going on here. The two gambling on the strategy, one that worked, the one that didn't, under the safety car. With Team Bayer, he was so close to actually winning this race, despite I mean, Team Bayer was about to win the race. As both of these drivers are joining us today, as we probably also have the guest speaker of Adam Hurdos around here. Is that true? No, it is not. However, the top two that I believed will fight for the championship this season, and it's going to happen apparently with you two. As two different tire strategies, great entertainment throughout the entire race going on. Well, we'll start with Drake, who finished second. How was it apparently?
It could have been better. I'll be honest. It wasn't really ideal being stuck behind cars, having to try to get any chance I can to pass, knowing I'm faster on pace in the race. If I didn't been it in the last lap, then I would have easily been P2 by considerable margin. But well, yeah, I guess you live and you learn. But I would have been able to at least keep close to Cameron, who had great pace, and maybe had a shot. Depends on how everything went, but I wouldn't have been stuck, most likely, like I was. Battery wasn't really plentiful, so that didn't really help my cause, especially in the last stint, where I had to make the most of the tires. But yeah, wasn't able to get past all the cars quick enough to keep those tires alive. So I managed to have, when I caught up to Cameron, tires that were about the same as mediums, so it was only going to get worse from there. So I was just trying to keep up and salvage P2. It was a decent race, though. So decent points to be able to contend. Is what you need in a championship fight going ahead.
Yep, and definitely there's going to be a lot of entertainment. Now maybe we'll ask for the perspective of Cameron. Great start for today's race, but then there was a lot of fight being involved, especially with Tony and Drake. And both Red Bull drivers who both gave us a lot of entertainment around here. But this time it's time for Cameron to ask for his own perspective on today's Grand Prix.
Qualifying went really well. At point one, I think it was almost my PB. I was really happy with the lap. It was just sector one I could have improved on. And then the race, it was really good. I think it would have been a little bit easier if that safety car didn't come out. But and then it was just about Jake said he was doing a different strategy, and I didn't know what, but I thought I figured it out, which I did like a few laps after I pitted. And I knew he'd be a massive threat when he got onto those softs, so it was just about trying to get through the people that were still hadn't pitted, and then just trying to get away, which was difficult, but I just about managed it.
Well, congratulations to the victory in the P2 for Drake. That was definitely one to remember when it comes to today's race. I'll definitely rewatch it again, at least the final laps. Or maybe some bit of a fighting, especially GG for the Miltos fight before the safety car for Drake and for Cameron for Tony. But in general, that was a race worth watching, and the season is actually worth watching. As next week we'll be racing in Japan at 4 PM UK as well, with the Japanese Grand Prix coming back after being suddenly cancelled midway through the season 8 due to the World Cup, but now we'll be racing there in the land of Honda. As now we can invite you to the race that will happen around 35 minutes from now, and that is the PlayStation F1 season opener in Bahrain, which is also worth watching, so I invite you to watch that one. Only 5 minutes from now, commentated by Luke Jobson. For now, it's time to finish the stream and say that thank you for watching, and we'll see you in 7 days time. Goodbye.